A supplement that's been around for a long time is called betaine hydrochloride. This is a supplement that allows you to basically supplement hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is the type of acid that's found in the stomach. It's required for protein digestion. The initial stage of protein digestion involves the breakdown of protein or into what they call polypeptides, or long chains of amino acids, and that particular process is induced by hydrochloric acid in the stomach, which activates an enzyme in the stomach called pepsin. Hydrochloric acid is also important for the absorption of various minerals, including calcium and several others. However, there are some forms of calcium, such as calcium citrate, that don't require acid, but other regular calcium, such as calcium carbonate, which is just basically chalk, requires that you have a hydrochloric acid secretion, which is why most calcium supplements, you should be consume them with food, because when you eat food, it stimulates the release of hydrochloric acid from what they call the parietal cells of the gastric mucosa, or the stomach. But the interesting thing about betaine hydrochloride was the betaine portion. Nobody ever really thought about betaine, but in recent years it's kind of gotten some pretty good publicity because it apparently has some health benefits that no one anticipated back in the 70s, when some people used betaine hydrochloride as an HCl, or hydrochloric acid supplement. Nobody really considered the betaine portion, but as I said, the betaine portion has some interesting properties on its own. Betaine is also known as trimethylglycine, and that explains the structure. It's basically a derivative of the amino acid glycine with 3 methyl groups attached to it. The three is a tri, so it's trimethylglycine. Methyl groups are very, very important in human health. Among the other functions are that they silence certain genes. So, you could use methyl groups to control gene activity, which is known as epigenetics. But that's a whole different story. I want to talk today mainly on betaine before going off on too many tangents here. It's all betaine. Betaine is it's produced in the body from the metabolism of another nutrient called choline, which is probably much more familiar to most bodybuilders. Years ago, back in the 70s, choline and inositol were considered lipotrophic nutrients. They were thought to help you burn fat. In fact, what they actually did is, because they supplied methyl groups, they helped remove fat from the liver. They didn't actually burn fat. That was a misnomer. But the methyl groups contained in choline helped to remove fat from the liver, which is kind of, strangely enough, ironically enough, that's become important over the years, because an estimated 20 million people, or even more than that, have something called non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is the precursor for liver cirrhosis and eventually liver failure, or possibly liver cancer. And it starts off as fatty liver. So anything that's going to prevent or help lower the level of fat in your liver is very good for you. As I said, betaine is produced from when choline is metabolized in the body. It's also found naturally in foods, including wheat. In fact, the best natural source of betaine is wheat bran. Wheat bran is a form of fiber. It's very cheap, but it's a form of what they call insoluble fiber. There's two kinds, soluble and insoluble. Insoluble fiber basically helps prevent constipation, does a couple other things. Other natural sources of betaine include beets, beet juice, spinach, and shellfish, including shrimp. Betaine has several functions that are useful to health and exercise performance. I should also point out that high levels of betaine exist naturally in the body, in the liver, kidney, and testes. And the way the human body works, if a nutrient concentrates in any particular organ or tissue, it's there for a reason. I'll give you another example. It's the carotenoid lycopene concentrates in the testes more than any other tissue in the body, because it has a antioxidant action in the testes that helps prevent sperm from being prematurely destroyed. So again, the fact that betaine is found in the highest levels in the liver, kidney, and testes shows that it must have some function there. The average person takes in from the food sources of betaine in just about between 100 and 300 milligrams of betaine. As I said, it's in regard to exercise, it's what they call an osmolyte. An osmolyte is a substance that attracts water. Uh, and in the case of betaine, it's involved in a process called cellular hydration. Simply put, when the cells are hydrated, they're healthy. They're in a kind of anabolic state. Hydrated cells tend to promote muscle protein synthesis. So having your cells hydrated, or cellular hydration, is actually very good for somebody who wants to build some muscle. And betaine and glutamine and a couple other things are some of the nutrients that promote cellular hydration. Conversely, when cells are dehydrated, they are, they're in a state of catabolism, breakdown. People that are very ill with diseases such as wasting diseases like cancer, certain forms of HIV, these people usually have cellular dehydration, which adds to their illness. Betaine also boosts vascular health, enhancing blood circulation, along with blood flow and oxygen to working muscles. One study showed that providing 2.5 grams of betaine mixed with Gatorade and ingested for 2 weeks increased muscle endurance, as measured by an increase in the number of reps done when doing bench presses compared to a placebo. In other words, the people taking betaine were able to do more reps on the bench press compared to the people doing the same bench presses but ingesting a placebo. Another study showed that providing supplemental betaine increased the number of reps done when doing squats. So apparently it affects both upper and lower body muscles. The study subjects in this study also showed increased upper arm size compared to those who ingested a placebo. From a health standpoint, betaine can help prevent cardiovascular and other diseases by lowering levels of a substance called homocysteine. What is homocysteine? Homocysteine is a metabolite of the essential amino acid methionine. Over the years, it's been found that homocysteine has a very negative influence on health. It's associated with degenerative brain disease, including Alzheimer's disease, and also cardiovascular disease. Betaine will help lower, the production of homocysteine. Homocysteine is always produced when you ingest methionine, which is an essential amino acid, which means you have to take in methionine. Interestingly enough, in animal, for example, rat studies, when they deprive the rats of methionine, the rats live a lot longer. Could be because of the homocysteine effect. But rather than not ingest methionine, which is needed because it also supplies methyl groups, which again are very important in human metabolism, you better be better off taking nutritional elements that'll help basically control the effects of methionine by minimizing the production or the conversion of methionine into homocysteine. That's a better way to do it. Other nutrients that aid in the control of homocysteine include vitamins B6, B12, and folic acid. Very often, some people have a genetic problem where they just tend to convert too much methionine into homocysteine. They take those three nutrients and it just doesn't work. However, when they add in betaine as another additional source of methyl groups, usually the homocysteine gets under control. One study of betaine found that it promotes the breakdown of fat, or lipolysis, and it also inhibits the formation of new fat in the body, which is called lipogenesis. It does that by altering the expression of genes that direct the activity of fat-promoting enzymes. Betaine also promotes the release of growth hormone and insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1, and it can boost the synthesis of creatine in the body. Betaine, again, because of the methyl group action, creatine is basically a methyl group product, if you want to call it that. The fact that betaine supplies methyl groups means that it aids in the body's production of natural creatine. Betaine also promotes muscle protein synthesis by increasing cellular hydration. That's, as I said earlier. It also helps to increase exercise intensity by reducing fatigue sensation. Years ago, I came across a medical hypothesis article basically that said that betaine can actually prevent alcoholic liver disease. It can also help to prevent non-alcoholic fatty liver, which, as I said, affects 20% of the world population, 50% of those with diabetes, 50% of those with obesity, and 90% of those who are morbidly obese. Morbidly obese means if weighing 400 pounds or more. In rats, betaine can prevent cirrhosis of the liver, As I said, this human hypothesis is that betaine can also prevent cirrhosis of the liver in humans, and cirrhosis of the liver is probably the main problem of alcoholism. And when you drink alcohol, you tend to get cirrhosis of the liver. Cirrhosis basically means formation of scar tissue in the liver, and betaine seems to help prevent that in animals and possibly in humans. Now, what this means in practical terms is if you tend to drink a little bit more alcohol than most people, it'd be a really, really good idea for you to supplement your diet with at least, I'd say, at least 2 to 4 grams a day of betaine to help protect your liver against the development of liver cirrhosis, because liver cirrhosis can easily develop into liver cancer. In that case, you would need to have a liver transplant. It also helps betaine also helps to prevent the liver from various toxins that would otherwise cause liver damage. For example, niacin in large doses can cause liver problems because it uses up available methyl groups. A lot of people don't know that. You need methyl groups to process large doses of niacin and niacinamide. But supplying betaine with niacin reduces the liver toxic effects of high-dose niacin. It also, there's a popular supplement which I did another video on called nicotinamide riboside. Unfortunately, nicotinamide riboside, which is a niacin or nicotinamide product, also tends to use up a lot of methyl groups in the process of metabolizing it. So if you're taking a nicotinamide riboside supplement, you'd be well advised to take methyl donors such as choline or betaine. Betaine is rapidly absorbed after oral intake, and it reaches peak levels in the blood within 1 to 2 hours following oral ingestion. It is non-toxic, and it's considered safe with doses as high as 15 grams. In contrast, supplement doses most of these studies that use betaine as an ergogenic aid involve doses of about 2.5 or 2.5 grams. Betaine is known to boost levels of what they call adenylyl methionine. Adenylyl methionine, also known as SAMe. SAMe is involved in the synthesis of many other compounds such as proteins, creatine, phospholipids, which are involved in cellular membrane health and also neuronal membrane health. The membranes surrounding your neurons in the brain. It's involved in hormone production. It's involved in the synthesis of carnitine. It's involved in in the production of epinephrine or adrenaline, which is of course a adrenal hormone, and it's also involved in DNA methylation. As I said, the methylation of DNA helps to control certain genetic processes. Methyl groups tend to be what they call gene silencers, which are very important because they can also silence genes that are associated with promoting cancer. And as you get older, you tend to naturally produce less methyl groups, which could partially explain why cancer, the incidence of cancer is much greater in people that are older. I'm talking about over 50 years of age. If you check the statistics, the incidence of cancer is much greater in older people. A lot of it could be due to these genes, oncogenes they're called, which are turning on tumors. You might be able to help silence them by taking in certain nutrients such as betaine, which contains the methyl groups, the 3 methyl groups of betaine, which will help turn off the same genes that tend to turn on tumor production. A 2018 study found that betaine also provided potent anti-inflammatory benefits and may help to prevent inflammation-related disease such as obesity, diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's. There was a recent study just published, also in a medical hypothesis journal, which made a case for combining the amino acid taurine, the amino acid cysteine, both of those are what they call sulfur-containing amino acids, the B-complex vitamin folate or folic acid, vitamin B12, and betaine. This article claimed that by taking those nutrients, again, taurine, cysteine, folate, B12, and betaine, it increased the production of a substance called hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide is found in extremely low amounts in the brains of people who have Alzheimer's and other degenerative brain disease. And the theory is by maintaining hydrogen sulfide production, you might be able to help prevent or decrease greatly the problems associated with Alzheimer's disease. And also, this study said that this combination of nutrients has the ability to reduce damage to the brain that occurs after a stroke, and it also can reduce damage to the brain caused by brain trauma, such as the football players when they get their head smashed, or the MMA guys or boxers when they get hit in the head. Betaine might also help prevent brain trauma. I didn't know this years ago when I worked with professional fighters, but I did give them nutrients that helped to prevent brain trauma. Hoping that that after they retired, they wouldn't get what they call pugilistic dementia, which looks exactly like Alzheimer's disease. Or they also call it punch drunk syndrome. So I used to give the fighters I work with a lot of nutrients that would help to preserve the brain and prevent brain damage from being hit in the head. Luckily for me, nearly all the boxers that I worked with were world champions, and I don't think any of them ever got knocked out when I was working with them. So I gave it to them anyway, even though they probably didn't need it. Okay, so that's about it. I think that covers betaine. I think those are all the essential facts you need to know about betaine. It's a useful supplement because it provides those methyl groups, those all-important methyl groups. And if you're in any of the categories I mentioned, if you like to drink a lot of alcohol, or if you want to maybe a slight increase in your natural creatine production, maybe you want to kickstart your natural creatine production after being on creatine for a while, your creatine production might be a little depressed. So what you can do is you can take methyl donor supplements like choline and betaine, which will kickstart your natural or endogenous creatine production. That's just a theory on my part. I don't have any studies to back that up, but it makes sense from a biochemical point of view. So that's about it. And again, if a good supplemental dose of creatine is about, I'd say 2.5 to up to 4 grams a day if you're a heavy drinker. And it really doesn't make a difference where you get the the betaine. Don't get the Betaine HCl though. That's basically a hydrochloric acid supplement. Get standalone betaine supplements without the hydrochloric acid. They have that now. They didn't have it years ago, but they have it now. And as I said, most of the betaine supplements are derived either from beet sugar or from molasses. So they're pretty natural. They're suitable for vegetarians and that kind of thing. So that's about it. If you want to have the best information you can ever find on nutrition, exercise science, supplements that work, those that don't, fat loss techniques that really work, anti-aging research you can use today, women's health and fitness, ergogenic aids, hormonal therapy, and many other, did I say exercise science? And many other topics. Subscribe today to my Applied Metabolics newsletter. 40 to 50 pages every month, no ads. I'm not trying to sell you anything but solid, evidence-based information based on current science studies and my own 58 years of constant studying experience, which I don't think can be matched by anyone who's offering any type of digital. I have more experience myself than all of them put together. It's just been around a long time. But I've been learning the whole time, and I could say I'm still learning because, my friends, learning never ends. It never ends. Anyone who acts like they know everything knows nothing. You never know everything. There's always something new to learn because things always change. So always keep that in mind. Stay away from know-it-alls. I am not a know-it-all. There's a lot of things I don't know. But as I said, Albert Einstein, to quote Albert Einstein, he once said that his greatest asset was his curiosity. And I'm not comparing myself to Einstein, but what I'm saying is that the commonality I share with him is that I have a great curiosity on many, many subjects, not just science, but many subjects. So, curiosity is a great asset to have. I've had it ever since I was about 2 years old, and I still have it, even as an old guy. So anyway, that's about it. So subscribe today to my Applied Metabolics newsletter, www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook group, where each day I put new information on nutrition, exercise science, medicine, and general science topics. Great, just really up-to-the-minute stuff. And that's only open to subscribers of Applied Metabolics. I have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics website. Subscribers only are welcome to ask me short questions. I'll be happy to answer it. However, I do not answer unsolicited questions or questions from people that are not current subscribers to my Applied Metabolics newsletter. You're welcome to leave comments under these videos. Sometimes I'll answer them, sometimes I don't have the time, so it's no guarantee, but you're welcome to leave them if you want. You could also leave suggestions if you want for possible future topics. In fact, this topic, betaine, was left as a comment under one of my videos. Somebody requested a video on betaine, so here it is. So thank you for watching, and if you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, I'm saying it again, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. They're the best. And just I want to say one other thing. Today, Franco Columbu, the two-time Mr. Olympia, passed away. Apparently, from what I understand, he was swimming in his native Sardinia, which is an island right off Italy. He was swimming and he had a heart attack, and they couldn't resuscitate him. I knew Franco, of course. I trained at the original Gold's Gym. I could tell you a quick funny story. What happened was I got to know Arnold real well right after he arrived in this country. We trained together at Vince's gym before he went over to Gold's Gym. But right after he joined Gold's Gym and I joined Gold's Gym, he came up to me and he said to me, he said, "Did you ever hear of a guy named Franco Columbu?" I said, "Well, I've seen him in the magazines, Arnold." I said, "He looks like this huge guy. He's tremendous." And Arnold started laughing. He says, "Well, Franco's great, but he's only 5'3". And I was really surprised because to me he looked like a really big guy. I couldn't tell. And then Arnold said to me, he says, "I'm getting Joe," that's Joe Weider, "I'm going to have Joe bring him over here to the U.S. because Franco was his buddy, his close friend. And Arnold really wanted a close friend. He needed a close friend back in those days. Joe Weider brought him over. Of course, I met Franco at Gold's Gym. And I can tell you everything that you've heard about his prodigious strength is true. He was extremely strong. He had, some people might not like his muscle shape, but he's very muscular. I didn't really care for his leg development, to tell you the truth, but his back was tremendous. He had incredibly wide lats. His arms were not impressive, but his muscularity was great, and I just want to say I'm sorry that, to hear that he died, and I'm sure everybody who's into bodybuilding also wishes Franco to rest in peace. Take care. Thank you for listening.